Have you ever noticed how easily people lose their temper? How one careless word, a minor mistake, or even someone's glance can spark anger, resentment, or irritation within us? We get angry at colleagues, friends, even random people on the street. But do you know who suffers the most from this? We do. Our irritation eats us up from the inside, draining our energy, making life harder. But what if I told you you could stop getting angry? What if I told you you could learn to stay calm, even when the world around you tries to throw you off balance? The Stoics knew this thousands of years ago. They developed principles that help us manage all kinds of emotions. And today, I'm going to share 15 Stoic lessons with you that will teach you how to never get angry or upset because of others. Ready? Let's go. But before we start, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps create even more valuable content. Lesson 1. Acceptance of the impossible. Imagine this situation. You're stuck in traffic. Time is running out, you're late for a meeting, and everything inside you is boiling. The cars aren't moving, the driver ahead keeps braking, and your nerves are on edge. Sound familiar? Now think, can your anger speed up the flow of traffic? Can your irritation change reality? The answer is obvious, no. The Stoics understood a simple truth. There are things we cannot change. They happen beyond our control, and getting angry about them is pointless. Marcus Aurelius said, "Grant me the courage to change the things I can, and the serenity to accept the things I cannot change." But why do we still get irritated? Because we want to control everything. We want the world to bend to our will, for people to behave the way we want them to, for circumstances to align with our plans. But reality doesn't work like that. Remember this principle. If you can't change the situation, stop worrying about it. Is it easy to say, but hard to do? Let's break down how to apply this principle in life. 1. Divide events into things I can control and things I can't. Every time you feel irritated, ask yourself, can I do something about this? If yes, take action. If no, just accept it as a fact. 2. Practice mindful thinking. When something doesn't go as planned, try stopping and telling yourself, this is out of my control. I can't change this, but I can change how I react. 3. Remember, resistance to reality is the source of suffering. The problem isn't what happened, but your attitude toward it. As Epictetus said, it's not things that disturb us, but our judgments about them. Practical exercise. Recall the last 3 situations where you got angry or irritated. Now think, could you have changed them? If not, imagine how you would have reacted knowing the Stoic principle. So this was the first Stoic lesson, acceptance of the impossible. But this is just the beginning. The next lesson will show you how to develop the strength of mind so your emotions don't control you. Lesson 2. The power of the mind over emotions. Imagine someone said something unpleasant to you. Maybe it's criticism, maybe it's a sarcastic joke, maybe it's just rudeness. Your first instinct is to respond in kind, to defend yourself, to show you're not weak. But think, who's in control of the situation now? You or your emotions? The Stoics believe that the mind should always be above emotions. Every time we let anger, resentment, or irritation take control, we willingly give up control of ourselves. We're led by a momentary impulse, not a reasoned decision. Epictetus said, "Whoever can anger you owns you." This doesn't mean emotions are bad. They're natural. But the Stoics understood that if we don't control our emotions, then our emotions control us. And that means anyone, anything, any circumstance can throw us off balance. What do we do about it? 1. Realize that your emotions are your choice. When someone's rude to you, you can choose to give in to your emotions and get angry, to stop and realize that anger is a reaction but not a necessity. 2. Give yourself a pause. If you feel emotions boiling up, stop for a second. Just tell yourself, I don't have to react right now. This gives time for the mind to kick in, not the impulse. 3. Ask yourself, is this worth my peace? Every time you feel like exploding, ask yourself, is this really important? Do I want to give this control over me? In 90% of cases, the answer will be no. Practical exercise. This week, observe your emotions. When you feel irritation or anger rising, don't react immediately. Take a pause. Realize you can choose your response. This is the first step to real self-control. We've discussed how the mind can control emotions. Now let's move on to the next important lesson: why expectations from others are the main cause of disappointment. Lesson 3: letting go of expectations. Have you ever noticed that what usually makes us angry and upset isn't what's happening, but what we expected to happen instead? We expect people to be grateful for our help. We hope that others will understand us without words. We assume that people will behave as we think they should. But here's the problem. The world doesn't owe us anything, and it doesn't have to live up to our expectations. The Stoics understood that disappointment is always a gap between reality and our expectations. The more we get attached to how things should be, the more we suffer when they aren't. Seneca said, "If you want to be happy, stop expecting anything from others." This doesn't mean you should become indifferent. It means you need to accept people for who they are, not for who you want them to be. How can we learn this? Understand that each person is a world of their own. We judge others based on ourselves. I wouldn't act that way, so they shouldn't either. But every person has their own experiences, beliefs, and logic. 2. Don't expect from others what you can't control. You can be kind, but that doesn't mean others will always be kind to you. You can respect people, but that doesn't guarantee they'll respond the same way. You can help, but that doesn't mean you'll always receive gratitude. Accept this, and you'll free yourself from unnecessary disappointments. 3. Focus on what depends on you. Your actions are your responsibility. Others' reactions are their choice. You can't make someone be the way you want them to be, but you can manage yourself. Practical exercise. The next time you feel upset by someone, ask yourself, am I angry at them or at the fact they didn't meet my expectations? When you realize this, you'll see the problem isn't with the people, but with our expectations. We've covered how to let go of expectations. In the next lesson, we'll talk about why the opinions of others shouldn't influence us. Lesson 4: freedom from the opinions of others. How many times have you caught yourself thinking, what will they think of me? You want to say something important, but you fear judgment. You dream of starting your own business, but you're afraid of criticism. You're changing your life, but you worry that someone won't support you. But here's the truth the Stoics understood thousands of years ago. The opinions of others are just noise that can be ignored. Epictetus said, if you want to be free, stop caring about what others say. Why? Because life is too short to live by someone else's standards. People will always judge, some out of envy, some out of fear, and some just because that's the way the world works. But do you know what's the most interesting thing? In 10 minutes, they'll forget about you. In a day, they'll be busy with their own problems. In a year, they won't even remember what they said. So, is it worth spending your energy on their opinion? How can you stop being affected by others' opinions? 1. Understand that everyone views the world through their own lens. Each person judges others not objectively, but through their own experiences. Someone's criticism is a reflection of their fears and insecurities, not your flaws. 2. Remember, you can never please everyone. No matter what you do, there will always be those who don't like it. So, the only option is to live the way you want to. 3. Do what you believe is right, no matter what. Marcus Aurelius said, let people do what they want. Your task is to follow your nature. Practical exercise. Think about what you would do if you didn't care about the opinions of others at all. Start by taking at least one small step in that direction. Now you know how to free yourself from the opinions of others. In the next lesson, we'll explore why it's important not to attach ourselves to the outcome. Lesson 5: not getting attached to the outcome. Have you ever felt disappointment when things didn't go as planned? You tried your best, but the result wasn't what you expected. You were hoping for success, but faced difficulties. You put in effort, but didn't get appreciated. The Stoics knew that attachment to the outcome makes us vulnerable. Marcus Aurelius said, "Do your job and don't worry about how it's received by others." The problem is that we base our happiness on the outcome. We think, I'll be happy when I achieve this. I'll relax when everything works out. I'll find meaning when I succeed. But if everything depends on the outcome, then we lose control over our happiness. What should we do? 1, focus on the process, not the outcome. You can control your actions, but not always the results. If you're doing things right, that's enough. 2, accept reality as it is. Not everything will go according to your plan, and that's okay. The key is to keep moving forward, even if the path isn't perfect. 3, stop measuring your worth by your achievements. You are not your victories or defeats. You are your principles and the way you move towards your goal. Practical exercise. Choose one goal you're working toward. Now, try to focus not on the outcome, but on the process. Enjoy each step, not just the finish line. Now you know how to stop getting attached to the outcome. In the next lesson, we'll discuss how to control your reactions, even when everything feels out of control. Lesson 6, control over reactions. Imagine this. You're at work and your colleague makes a big mistake that now forces you to do extra work. Or you're walking down the street and someone pushes you in the crowd without even apologizing. What's your first reaction? To get angry? To respond with aggression? To start an argument? But what if I told you that you can fully control your reaction? The Stoics understood that events themselves don't cause our emotions. We choose how to react to them. Epictetus said, "It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them." This means it's not the colleague's mistake or the rudeness of the passerby that bothers us, but our perception of these situations. How can we learn to control our reactions? 1, stop before reacting. Every time you feel yourself starting to get angry, take a pause. Tell yourself, stop, I choose how to react. 2, change your perspective. Maybe your colleague is just tired. Maybe the passerby is rushing to a sick relative. In most cases, people don't intend to hurt us. 3, remember, you don't have to react to other people's aggression. Whoever gets you upset controls you. Don't give them that power. Rise above it. Practical exercise. Throughout the day, pay attention to your reactions. If something irritates you, don't react immediately. Stop, assess the situation, and choose a mindful response. Now you know how to control your reaction. In the next lesson, we'll discuss why it's important to understand that people act based on their own beliefs. Lesson 7, understanding that people act according to their beliefs. Think about this. Why do people do what they do? Why does someone behave rudely? Why does someone break their word? Why does someone criticize you? Our first instinct is to think that they do it on purpose, that they want to hurt us, that they are unfair. But in most cases, people simply act according to what they believe is right. Marcus Aurelius said, "Each person acts according to their beliefs. If they are wrong, it is not their fault, but their ignorance." In other words, people do what they do because they simply don't know any better. How do we apply this in life? 1, don't take others' actions personally. When someone behaves badly, it says more about them than it does about you. It's the result of their experience, their worldview, and their inner problems. 2, understand that everyone does what they believe is right. Even if you think someone is wrong, in their mind, they are acting logically. 3, develop empathy, but don't let people take advantage of you. Understanding people's motives doesn't mean excusing them. You can show tolerance, but you don't have to let them use you. Practical exercise. The next time someone makes you angry, ask yourself, why are they acting this way? What beliefs are driving them? This will help you understand rather than get angry. Now you know how to see people for who they are. not for who you want them to be. In the next lesson, we'll discuss why you shouldn't judge people by their mistakes. Lesson 8, don't judge people by their mistakes. How often do we judge people by one single mistake? Someone lets us down, and we immediately write them off. Someone makes a slip up, and we remember them only for that. Someone doesn't meet our expectations, and we get disappointed. But the Stoics knew people are not perfect. Mistakes are a part of human nature. Marcus Aurelius said, when someone makes a mistake, remember, you are imperfect too. By judging others for their mistakes, we forget that we're not immune to them either. Every person has both light and darkness within them. And if we judge someone by just one failure, we simplify reality. How can we stop judging people by their mistakes? 1. Remember, you're not without fault either. Everyone makes mistakes, and so do you. Would you want to be judged by only your worst actions? 2. Separate the person from their actions. A bad action doesn't always mean the person is bad. Maybe it was a moment of weakness. Perhaps they already regret it. 3. Try to see not just the bad in people, but the good. If someone made a mistake, it doesn't cancel out their good qualities. Everyone has their own struggles, some of which we may not even know about. Practical exercise. The next time you feel like judging someone, think of 3 people who have forgiven you for your mistakes. Feel how important it is to give a second chance. Now you know how to avoid judging people too harshly. In the next lesson, we'll discuss why it's important to acknowledge our own responsibility for what happens. Lesson 9, acknowledging your own responsibility. One of the toughest truths of Stoicism, you are responsible for your life. It's easy to blame circumstances. This is because of him. I'm in a bad mood. If it weren't for them, I would have achieved more. Everyone around me is to blame for my failure. But the truth is, we are always responsible for our reactions, our actions, and how we perceive the situation. Epictetus said, you cannot control events, but you can control your attitude toward them. The Stoics understood, if you want to change your life, start with yourself. How can we take responsibility for our lives? 1, stop looking for someone to blame. Every time you want to say it's not my fault, think about what you can do to change the situation. 2, accept that you don't control the outside world, but you control yourself. You can't control people, but you can control your reaction. You can't control circumstances, but you can control how you relate to them. 3, make choices consciously. Every action you take is your responsibility. You either control your life or you let circumstances control you. Practical exercise. For a week, observe your reactions. Every time something goes wrong, ask yourself, what can I do to change this? Now you know that taking responsibility for your life is the key to inner freedom. In the next lesson, we'll discuss why the power of silence is one of the Stoics' most powerful tools. Lesson 10, the power of silence. Have you ever noticed that people often say more than they need to? In arguments, they try to prove they're right, even when it's pointless. In anger, they say things they later regret. In stressful situations, they chatter just to fill the silence. But the Stoics understood silence is power. Epictetus taught, before you speak, ask yourself, is it true? Is it necessary? Is it beneficial? In most cases, silence is wiser than words. Why is silence such a powerful tool? 1, silence gives control over the situation. Those who speak too much reveal their weaknesses. Those who can remain silent maintain control. 2, silence doesn't give enemies weapons against you. The less you speak, the less your words can be used against you. Silence is a way to manage emotions. Instead of giving in to impulse, be silent. Take a deep breath and assess the situation. Practical exercise. This week, consciously try to speak less. When you feel the urge to respond sharply, stay silent. When you want to justify yourself, remain silent. When an argument becomes pointless, simply walk away. Now you know how to use the power of silence. In the next lesson, we'll discuss why it's important to accept dissatisfaction as a part of life. Lesson 11. Accepting dissatisfaction as a part of life. Let's face it, no one likes being criticized or having others express dissatisfaction. You try your best, but someone is still unhappy with something. You do good deeds, but you're still judged. You live your life, but someone doesn't like it. But the Stoics knew dissatisfaction is an inevitable part of life. Marcus Aurelius said, "Don't expect people to stop complaining. Expect that you will stop being dependent on it." Why is this important? 1. You can't please everyone. No matter what you do, there will always be those who won't like it. 2. Criticism often comes from others' problems. When people are dissatisfied with you, it's not always about you. Most of the time, it's about their fears, insecurities, and unfulfilled ambitions. 3. Accept dissatisfaction as an inevitability. Instead of stressing over criticism, accept it as background noise that will always be in your life. Practical exercise. This week, every time you hear dissatisfaction directed towards you, ask yourself, is this really important, or is it just a part of life? If the criticism is constructive, use it. If not, just let it go. Now you know how not to depend on others' dissatisfaction. In the next lesson, we'll discuss how the practice of gratitude helps maintain calmness. Lesson 12, the practice of gratitude. How often do we focus on what we don't have instead of appreciating what we do have? We worry about failures, forgetting our achievements. We get angry at people, forgetting those who support us. We worry about the future, forgetting that we already have so much in the present. But the Stoics knew gratitude is the key to inner peace. Seneca said, "We are not poor because we have little, but because we desire more." When you start noticing what you already have, you become less prone to irritation, envy, and anger. How can we cultivate gratitude? 1. Start small. Every day before bed, find at least 3 things you're grateful for. They can even be small things: a good conversation, delicious food, a successful day. 2. Shift your focus from losses to gains. Instead of complaining about what you don't have, ask yourself, what do I already have? 3. Notice the good in people. People are not perfect, but there's something valuable in each of them. Notice that, and you'll be less irritated by others. Practical exercise. Start a gratitude journal. Each day, write down 3 things you're grateful for. After a month, you'll feel how your attitude toward life has changed. Now you know how the practice of gratitude helps maintain calmness. In the next lesson, we'll discuss why focusing on the present is the path to harmony. Lesson 13, focusing on the present. How often do we live in the past or the future, forgetting about the present? We dwell on past mistakes. We worry about what lies ahead. We postpone happiness for later instead of living here and now. But the Stoics understood the only thing we have is the present moment. Marcus Aurelius said, "Live as if every day is your last opportunity." When you focus on the present, you stop getting upset about the past and worrying about the future. How can you learn to live in the moment? 1. Practice mindfulness. Every time you notice your thoughts drifting to the past or future, bring yourself back to the present. Ask yourself, what's happening now? What do I feel? What am I doing? Don't postpone life. Don't wait for happiness to come someday. It's already here. Just learn to see it. 3. Develop the habit of enjoying the little things. A good cup of coffee, fresh air, a moment of silence. This is the real life. Learn to enjoy it. Practical exercise. Throughout the week, find one moment each day that you enjoy right here and now. This will help you stop fixating on the past or the future. Now you know how focusing on the present helps maintain harmony. In the next lesson, we'll discuss why calmness is a form of strength. Lesson 14, calmness is strength. Imagine there's a storm. The wind is knocking down trees, the waves are rising, and the sky is darkening. But deep in the ocean, there's absolute calm. There are no disturbances, no worries, only silence and balance. The Stoics believed that true strength is inner calm. Marcus Aurelius said, "A man is free who has power over himself." The one who remains calm in chaos controls the situation. The one who doesn't give in to emotions controls themselves. How can you develop calmness? 1. Understand that emotions are temporary. Any anger, irritation, or anxiety, they pass. The sooner you realize this, the easier it will be to let them go. 2. Maintain control over your breath. When you're angry or anxious, slow your breath. Take a deep breath in and exhale slowly. This instantly restores control. 3. Remember, calmness is not weakness, it's power. The strongest person is the one who cannot be thrown off balance. Practical exercise. This week, observe your state. Every time you feel like losing control, take a deep breath and tell yourself, I am in control of myself. Now you know how calmness makes you stronger. In the next final lesson, we'll discuss how the strength of your inner world protects you from negative emotions. Lesson 15, the power of the inner world. How often do you feel inner chaos? Thoughts jump around, emotions boil, anxiety doesn't let go. We get irritated, anxious, and worry about things that haven't even happened yet. We look for peace in the external world, but we only find new reasons for concern. But the Stoics understood, true peace is within us. Epictetus said, freedom begins when you stop depending on the external world. If you look for peace in people, money, or status, you will always depend on them. But if you find peace within yourself, nothing can destroy it. How can you develop your inner world? 1. Stop depending on the external. Your peace should not depend on other people's words, circumstances, or problems. 2. Practice simplicity. The less unnecessary things in your life, the easier it is to remain calm. 3. Know that you are already whole. You don't need to add anything to yourself to be happy. You are already enough. Practical exercise. Find 5 minutes of silence every day. No gadgets, no noise. Just be in the moment and feel peace already exists within you. Now you know how the power of your inner world protects you from any emotions. You are ready for a new life without anger or disappointment. You've reached the end, and now you have 15 Stoic lessons to help you never get angry or upset by others. You've realized that the world doesn't have to meet your expectations. You can't control people, but you can control your reaction. Calmness is not weakness, but the greatest strength. But knowledge is just the first step. It's important to put it into practice. So start today. When something goes wrong, ask yourself, can I change this? When someone is angry, remember, these emotions belong to them, not me. When life throws challenges, face them with the calmness of a Stoic. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. It helps create even more content that changes lives. Write in the comments, which of the 15 lessons resonated with you the most? Thank you for watching. And remember, calmness starts with you.